YouTube Live. This is a big deal. Okay, we're up here. We're here. We're on YouTube Live.
All right. Okay. So
And
hello.
now we're going to record to the cloud too. That's the other thing.
Okay. Yep. It's on there. Okay. So hello to the YouTubers, huh?
Exactly.
Here we are. Moving on, moving up in media world, in social media. So hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Sunday, May 16th. We're kind of a day late here with or 2 days, but we're busy people here. We were planning a big cancel the test forum, which was going to be for today, but we are going to have it next month, June 15th at 6 o'clock. So you're going to hear a lot more about it. It gives us more time to get it out there. So welcome. And my name is Consuelo Lara.
And I'm Madeline Cronenberg, and this is Between Two Teachers. It's not cancel the test, if that's what you were looking for, but I want to give our weekly land acknowledgement, which is to pause to acknowledge that we've gathered on the ancestral territory of the Huiching people, part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karkan-speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to the region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. And we welcome you this morning to talk about what's happening in education, right? And the biggest thing happening in education this week is that students are getting the opportunity to be vaccinated. That is completely approved. And so that is a very exciting part of the healing from the coronavirus. And so we've got in West Contra Costa, in Contra Costa County, there are schools all over the county that have been set up as vaccination sites. And we've got 3 of the high schools in West Contra Costa also included, right? And you have many others throughout the county that are included. And hopefully, my understanding is that to make it a requirement for students to be able to have to be vaccinated, it can no longer be under an emergency order. The vaccine itself has to have passed that emergency status and moved into a normal status. And that hasn't happened yet. But once it does, then it could be added to the other vaccinations that are required by schools.
Okay, that'll be a good thing.
There's that. And then we've also taken off our masks.
Yes, how about that?
Right, across America, people are taking off their masks, but that's also, there are questions around how all of that is playing itself out and how it's going to play itself out in the schools. But basically, this is the beginning of the taking off of the mask. So that's an exciting thing. Nationally, the biggest news, there's a few things that have happened. One of them is that there's now a mass exodus of superintendents at the large district level. So what we have now is Chicago, which is number 3, Los Angeles is number 2 in size, and of course New York is number 1. All of them have had their superintendents depart within the last 6 weeks.
Wow.
It's a hard job.
Yeah. And this has not been a good time for schools, for education. So
yeah.
No.
It's incredibly challenging. So they're each of those districts, of course, is different, and they're taking different strategies to replace their superintendents. But it just goes to show that I think nationwide there's the job is a challenge no matter where you are. And this year it's been even more.
Sure.
Of one former superintendent who is from San Diego got a new job this week, finally. And she got appointed to be Deputy Secretary of Education with Mr. Cardona in Washington. And that's Cindy Martin. So Cindy Martin, it took a long time for her to be confirmed. Part of it was that she is she's taken strong positions against privatizing, and has really been a real strong advocate for district schools in California, and that caused it to be difficult for her to have her confirmation be successful. So it's very late, right? It's May when everyone else got confirmed in January, but she's been confirmed.
Yeah, well, that's good, because I heard that he was kind of, Cardona, fluctuating about charter schools. He wasn't real, he didn't come out forcefully against them, but with her there, maybe he'll listen. He'll listen.
She'll bring a different perspective. I mean, well, I understand for him, he has the viewpoint of Connecticut. The interesting thing with him is he grew up and taught and spent his entire career in one school district.
Yep.
Right. So that the good news is he really understands how to be in one place and understands the different roles at different levels. But he certainly doesn't have a broad perspective of how things are around the country. That's something he has to learn, right?
Makes sense.
And Miss Martin can certainly bring him the West Coast perspective, because she has that. So I'm excited. I'm very excited that she's got that. I think that's a really good thing for us in education.
It is. Yeah.
The other things that I was going to mention, just two things about national issues, and they are West Virginia. West Virginia has passed a voucher law, and most voucher laws say that public school kids in failing public schools can take money and use it to go to a private school. And their voucher law says that, but it also says that if not enough public school children do that, they will simply make that money available to the non-public school families. Well, just simply children who've never been in public school will now have the funding follow them to the non-public schools. And in West Virginia, most of them are evangelical Christian schools. But either way, they're not public schools. And Ohio is now looking across the Ohio River at West Virginia and thinking of adopting the same strategies for Ohio.
He's just privatizing. Let's take money from the social common good and give it to private schools.
It's not over, right? This is why we talk about this. This is a long-term battle. It's a huge issue, and it absolutely needs to. You need to constantly watch it and be vigilant, because it continues on. And there are people who really believe that there should not be public education.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so that viewpoint doesn't go away. And so if you don't agree with it, you have to get out there and make the case.
Yeah.
So that is that. Locally, we're starting the graduations are going to start soon. And we'll going to give a local shout out at the end of this session. What I did want to talk a little bit about the canceled the test. We were going to have it this morning. As Consuelo said, we're going to have it next month. And what we're really talking about here is a bigger movement than just canceling the tests for 2021. We're talking about ending standardized testing as we know it, because it is completely racist. And one of the things that happened this week that's very exciting is that the University of California is no longer going to be using SAT and ACT. Right?
That's big. Yeah, that's huge.
And it came out of a lawsuit.
Wow.
And that's, I mean, in the end, that is a big strategy. So how that is going to play itself out ultimately, right? Where that's going to go. Basically what it means is that there is a recognition that there is nothing, they're not fair. They're not, you can't continue them and say that you're anti-racist. You can't continue a racist practice and be anti-racist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there isn't like a middle ground between racist and anti-racist. There's no like, I'm neutral on racism. No, you're not. You're either anti-racist or you are supporting racist policies.
Well, back in the day, you used to say you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. So that's true here as well.
That's true here as well. And now we have to just say, okay, what are the next steps? And there are steps.
Yeah.
Which is why we're going to have this conversation, right? And bring as many more players into it as possible. This is certainly not a movement we have invented. It's one that we have discovered that is and now want to amplify and support.
Yeah. And, change is really hard for people. And, I was a teacher for 38 years. You just are accepted that these tests are normal. This is just what we do. And, you don't think about it. And it's not till now that I've been able to look at a bigger picture. The pandemic has showed we don't really need them. And then you have to research and see the connection. I think there's a big connection between the disproportionality of Black and brown kids in whether it's special ed or other kinds of programs. It's connected to this standardized testing issue. So, yeah, we're going to continue with this and bring it up and expose it so people can learn.
Yeah, that's essentially it. And start looking at what are the action steps we can all take, right? And the decision and the consequences of not taking them at this point in time, because there are consequences. You're lining yourself up to support something that you now know. You didn't know it before, right? You're not responsible for it you didn't know. But once you do know it, and that's what the judge is thinking of in the PVC case. Once you know it, you're responsible for your next actions.
You have to do something. Yeah.
Right, you have to do something. So that's what we are going to do it. We have by no means given it up. We did cancel today's episode of Cancel the Test, but we're definitely moving forward on doing that. Okay, you want to talk about what's happening in the county?
Yeah. Let me start with West Contra Costa. A lot of little things going on there that I think are important. On Monday, that's tomorrow, is the next charter committee meeting, tomorrow at 4:00. I have to commend it. They're doing such good work, that committee. Oh my gosh, they're really diving into that charter policy because of 1505. They're going to have something really great. And I'm hoping we could bring that over to the county.
Right. I mean, they should be the same, right? They should be strong and they should work together.
Yeah, connect for sure. And let's see, the next board meeting coming up, the 19th, I think there's going to be a nice formal goodbye to Mr. Matt Duffy as our superintendent for many, many years. So that's going to happen. On the 24th is the reclassification ceremony. So that'll be great. I didn't notice if it's in person or not. I'm going to have to look that up. But it's on the 24th. You probably find it on the website. At the county office, something interesting that I saw is for teachers, a summer reading institute training for teaching reading. I said, oh, that's good. August 2nd to the 5th. So look up for their professional development. There's a lot of good professional development there. And, there's going to be a ribbon cutting also tomorrow, 12:00 for another site for Golden Gate for the community school. So that's going to be at RPAL. So there's a site here and the kids don't have to go all the way out there, but they could stay here. What else? I think so. Locally, the other big controversy, there's a big controversy about the sites that were chosen for these vaccination locations for these children, for the youngsters, and Pinot Valley, De Anza, and Kennedy High School. And yet the hotspots are like San Pablo and the surrounding Richmond area, but the sites are way out there, not that accessible sometimes for some of our families in our community. So, it's either the county or it's the district, but together they've got to make it. You would think you would go to the hotspots and also the place where there's most, reticence to take the vaccine. that you want to put out more information and knock on doors and get people to take the vaccine. So that's a big issue right now, and we have more information about that, right? About those.
We do, and the biggest part of that is that within West Contra Costa County, the hotspot in terms of a city is San Pablo, right? And then Richmond is right after that. Now, Richmond is much bigger than San Pablo, and Richmond has many more neighborhoods than San Pablo, right? We were looking at the numbers. It's 3 times as big, 2.5 or almost 3 times as big. So the point there is that it's important. It's something that needs to be looked at in terms of what kind of access there is in the hesitant communities and in the high prevalence communities for the cases, and that's the question, right? And what the strategies are. So the thing is not that there shouldn't be access to the 3 high schools that are getting it, right? The De Anza community, and there are all these reasons, logistical reasons, you pick a certain location over another location. I'm certain all of that is true. But if you have the equity lens that everyone in Contra Costa has had and is looking at how they're handling coronavirus tactics, it's supposed to be through an equity lens, then one would expect that hopefully there'll be a lot of opportunities to get vaccinated for students within the confines of the city of San Pablo. Right, and so we certainly have schools. There is no high school in San Pablo. The children in San Pablo all go to Richmond High School. That's the catchment area. But there certainly is middle school. You taught at it, right? It's a big school. That's a very large campus. And anyway, there are opportunities there, and we're just hopeful that there'll be an expansion of the opportunities for vaccines and a real continued conversation with hesitant communities, because that's how we get out of this, is people get vaccinated. And there's a difference now in the vaccination rates in our community.
And there's there are other sites like just down the road. I live in San
non-school sites.
Non-school sites. There are those still available. Those are not just the only sites. And so we want to make sure people know that. But what was that school you said, Downer or Dover? If they just put it there, you're like right in the middle of the hotspot. Come on. I also know my friend Genoveva Calloway is also part of a group that's countywide, looking specifically at the Latino community. Right. And so, that's also a hot spot for a specific group. And the location is, of course, San Pablo. And that's also where there's a lot of hesitancy. So educating as well as getting out there into the communities. And there needs to be like a partnership there. But it was disappointing, that they didn't include someplace where there's, and again, it's a large population of Latino families. So we're going to continue this, get more data and continue this conversation. This Friday, we have a Concilio Latino meeting, Friday, the 21st at 9. And we're going to continue this and get more information out about it as well.
Right. And the Zoom for that will be posted. So if you're on the Concilio e-tree, you'll get that. And it's also posted, once we have the meeting, it will be posted to the Concilio website, the Concilio Facebook page.
Facebook page. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So that's all.
And so, go ahead.
No, just are we ready for our shout out? Or
we're ready for our big shout out. Well, you go ahead, you start. We have a special shout out this week.
Yeah, our special shout out is to Mr. Matt Duffy. He is leaving our district after being here for so many years. I've only known him for the last 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. And the thing that I remember, my first impression of him, listening to him, was this guy thinks outside the box. I really did, in the education sense. That's what I was looking at. I don't know about management of plants, but education, I really liked his ideas. And I think he's very talented, and I think he's going to land someplace, and be in a good spot, because he's just too talented to not. And I'm really happy that I got the opportunity to work with him and be around him. And yeah, so that was in my short time of knowing him. He still lives in the area, and I'm hoping we can stay connected. So yeah, big shout out to him. The district is different before he came and after, he's made a difference.
He has made an enormous difference. And I will say, it's a Hamilton-esque statement. I was in the room when he was picked. And I was in the room when other people interviewed for that position, and he bubbled his way up to the top and did get it. And I think he made it his own. He followed a tough act, somebody who had been a really dedicated, high-powered superintendent. But Matt Duffy became a big act. And Matt Duffy did things that were truly extraordinary. And if we go back and look, when the history of this district is written 100 years from now, it will say that the greatest moment for us staff members, and really for our community, when we became the community people wanted to move to, is when we were able to say we actually did compensate our staff, recognize the importance of our staff more than other districts in the community. And we always were the least compensated. And during Mr. Duffy's time, we became the highest compensated. And that was because of his extraordinary hard work and his ability to understand how to work with his partners in working together for our children. That was a major accomplishment among many, many, many accomplishments. And so I want to speak for all the people who were in the room when he was hired. And in particular, I want to speak for Mr. Enos. Mr. Enos has passed on, but I think if Mr. Enos was here, the coach would say, well done, Matt. Well done, Mr. Duffy. We really appreciate everything you've done for us. And we know you've got nothing but huge success ahead of you in a career that is only just beginning. So with that, I think we're done for today.
Yes, we are.
If anybody watched us on YouTube, send us a note or make a comment underneath it. This is the first time we have done a YouTube live stream, and if it works, we'll do it every time from now on.
Absolutely. Great.
Okay. See you next time. Bye-bye.
All right.
Now what I